Hello there. I want to talk to you a bit about some truths when it comes to hand plane setup. What I'm going to tell you, some of it, there are a whole lot of woodworkers that are more socially prominent, more skillful, have more years in the field, so to speak, and with the gear that than I do. And they will tell you that some of what I'm fixing to tell you is not the case. I'm going to tell you that there are some things that are not as important as they're made out to be on the internet. Okay, what you have to understand is a lot of these guys through the years, and this is true of all of us, and it'll be true of me too, probably already is in some respect. But once we've been doing something for a long, long time, we develop preferences and standards that we want, and they might not be truly based in reality. It's just, I want this because I think that's the best. And when they go to teach somebody, what they'll do is they'll tell you, you must have this. When in reality, this is what they prefer, but you can get by with less. Or you can do the job just as well with less. And so I want to talk about hand plane setup and what I believe is the most important parts of it, and what I believe people kind of stress too much. And the first thing I would talk about is the most important thing with any hand tool. But it's the sharpness of your iron. Okay? This is the most important component to a proper setup of any hand plane, is a sharp edge. If you've got a dull edge, you can end up having a lot of problems. First of all, you can get more tear out. Second of all, what can happen is you can get heavy tracks in your wood that you don't understand. A lot of people will attribute them to the edges of your plane, and you need to smooth out these edges so they don't dig up in your wood or the back of this heel. But when you've got a really dull blade, you're going to press down more. If you're working in softer woods and you're pressing down a whole lot, you're gonna leave tracks, and there ain't nothing wrong with your plane except that this is blooming dull, and you've advanced your iron so much that you can't hardly take a shaving with it because it's too thick, because you're trying to make your plane cut. So you're backing off now and you're pressing down really hard, so you got problems that way. You can also have problems where you can go to, particularly with like a smoothing plane. If a smoothing plane's blade is not super sharp, what can happen is you can go to smooth out the wood, and the wood will cut in certain places it won't, because a smoothing plane is not designed to flatten wood, it's designed to smooth everything out. And as you build, you might start out with a flat piece of wood, but by the time the project is over, the wood's got some imperfections in it. And so if you have a really sharp plane, then this will handle that. But if your plane is not quite, it don't even have to be really dull, but if it's not quite sharp enough, what'll happen is you'll cut in the high spots, but it won't cut in the low spots, so you'll get like shavings that are not full width and they're not uniform, and so you'll start adjusting your iron's pitch and lateral pitch, and you'll start increasing the depth of your blade, and it's just a pain in the rear end. Stop and sharpen your blooming blade. A sharp hand plane blade is a part of proper setup. When it goes dull, it has to be sharpened. That's number one. But now there are a lot of people that will talk about the flatness of your sole. It's got to be dead flat. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You don't need .005 machine flatness on the bottom of a plane. what you need, even on a smoothing plane, although I would say you might want to be a little bit more persnickety with one of these. But what you need is this section here in front of, at the toe, a section in front of the mouth, a section behind the mouth, and a section somewhere at the heel of the plane that is coplanar, which means they're all on the same level. If you have hollows in here and hollows in here, they don't mean squat, okay? If you have a bump in here, then guess what? Because I know somebody go, well, what if you have a bump? Well, if you have a high spot, a bump, then these spots are not what? Coplanar. But you need this, and this to be coplanar, because what you do when you go to use the plane, you start out with a little bit more weight on the toe. And what happens is when that section is flat, then the plane is moving flatly across that wood. And when you come forward and hit here, what that does is two things. It's keeping the plane flat, but also what it's doing is it's pressing down on the wood right behind the cutter so that it will break off, curl up and off the chip breaker, break off before you get tear out, okay? And then a flat spot back here continues to make the thing, you're registering now a flat spot here, a flat spot here, and a flat spot there. And as I bring the plane across the wood, I will skip this dip because I've got these registration points, and I'll end on the heel, which is flat with my weight, most of my weight on the heel. That's why you don't need machine flatness. This has not got to be perfectly flat, okay? It'll do just fine just with that much flatness. I never flatten my planes any more than that. No, none of them, any one that I have, because it's not necessary. Similarly, your sides. If you look at the sides of this plane, you can see what's flat. I mean, it's flat in here, but this edge here is not really flat. It's flat along in here, but right in here it's not, okay? That don't have to be perfectly 90 degrees to this sole anyway, because you have a lateral adjustment lever to adjust the squareness of your cut as you are shooting on a shooting board. Now, if it's way out, then it could end up being beyond the range of your lateral adjustment. But flip your plane over, advance the blade enough where you can tell, and move this lateral adjustment lever side to side and see how much adjustment there is in the position of that blade. And you'll understand that it's a myth that this must be absolutely square. It's a myth that this must be absolutely flat. It's not true. There's flat enough, and that works, okay? After that, you're just chasing your tail and doing it just to say, my plane is dead. I don't care. If it's flat enough to do the job, I'm gonna make it where I can work with it, and I'm gonna move on and work wood. I'm not gonna spend 25 or 30 minutes or an hour or two trying to get that sole dead flat. It's not worth it to me. That's a lot of work. I'm 62 years old. I still can do hard work, but I pay for it. And grinding on this sole, even with 60 grit sandpaper, and you see most guys say, well, we're going to start with 180. You know, no, I'm not starting with 180. If I think the sole of this is way out of flat, I'm going to throw some 60 grit on that, whatever I'm using as a flat substrate, and I'm going to go to town, and then I'll just move up to through the grits to smooth it all out after I get done. But I'm not spending forever and a day grinding on this. To each his own, right? The other thing that they will tell you is that this frog, this has got to be dead flat. Well, not really. There's an acceptable flatness for this frog. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. If you're looking at a Stanley design in the first place, you see the way this cap iron this chip breaker is, it's got this hump right here, right? So when I'll have to put it in the, when I put this in the plane, if you look at this cap iron, it's got a little spring under it, and when I do that, it pushes that spring down against this part of the blade, right? So, or the cap iron, the chip breaker. So I'm going to set this in here, and the leading edge of that lays on that hump. This lays right here, and if you look, it's right in line with the very top of the frog. When I press this down, it presses this cap iron down, or chip breaker, or whatever you want to call it, down on this part of the frog. And because this is laying on that hump, it's putting pressure down on this front leading edge of the frog, and it is not flat most of the time. Here on this frog, a lot of the Stanley design planes, you can put a feeler gauge through that blade and the frog. It doesn't lay dead flat. Now, I took a 1,000th, that's just 1,000th, okay? It's very thin, okay? Feeler gauge, and I can get it halfway through on this side and halfway through on this side. So it's not laying dead flat on that frog, okay? Some of the other hand planes that I have, I could probably run one that's a thicker one than that completely through it, okay? That's the way this thing works. It's physics. It was designed that way. This cam was designed to press it down here, and that hump on that chip breaker was designed to do two things: to curl up and break it off before it tears out, and to allow this lever cap, to press down on it and press that blade along the front. So you ain't got to flatten that within an inch of your life. If you're running a basic Stanley hand plane, it's a waste of your time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a ruler on it and look at it and see how flat it is according to the ruler. And I'm going to move on unless I see a really, really bad problem. Where you do have to, I don't want to say have to, because this is my preference, and I think it makes sense. But where I think you do need a flat mating surface is the parts of this frog on the bottom of it and the mating surfaces on the bed of this plane. When I lay this on here and the screws are loose, I don't want to be able to rock that like this. I don't want it to move, okay? Or if it does move just a tiny little bit, I think I would probably let it go. But if it's more than that, I'm going to do something to flatten that out and make it more fit better, because I want that to sit like it's a piece. I want this to sit on this like they're one piece, because that's the bed. It's where all the support for the blade comes from, and I want it right. But I would not spend a whole lot of time on anything else, because it's not worth it. Not to me, because I understand how the plane functions and how it's designed, and I'm not going to spend a long time on something like flattening the bottom of the sole or squaring the sides to the nth degree, or making this dead flat, machine flat. I'm not going to spend that time on that. I don't need it. The way the plane is designed, it functions without all of that. A lot of the guys that had these planes and bought them probably never touched the sole of their plane. They just took the plane and went to work with it, and it worked for them for 40 flipping years. I'm just saying. It's all in what you want to do, but I'm not going to tell anybody you must do this and you must do that. When I know that, no, you don't must do that. It doesn't make that much of a difference. So I'm going to spend my time on the parts of the plane that make the most difference, starting with making sure this is dead sharp. Now, the other part, this chip breaker, it needs to be mated to the back of this blade. In other words, when I look down that hollow that is, down this hollow here where this hump is, I want to look and tilt it up so that I can see this edge and this edge, and I don't want to see any kind of light between there. That's important because if you've got a gap between this chip breaker and the back of this blade, you're going to get shaving stuck in there. It's going to foul your plane mouth, and you're going to have every time you turn around, you're going to have to be pulling those out. If that's happened to you, that's what's going on. That's dead important. Absolutely, you got to get that right. But those are the only really important parts to a hand plane, particularly a Bailey pattern, that matter, in my opinion. So when you start, because I know that some of my viewers are probably going to get eBay planes or Papa's plane or flea market or thrift store planes or whatever, and they're going to try to rehab it. Spend the time on what matters so that you have a good working tool. Clean it up, get the rust off of it, put some paste wax on all the bare parts of the metal. I even wax this part, the Japanning, on the bed of the plane, okay? Let it set 5 or 10 minutes and buff it out. You might also, if you want to, put a little bit of wax on the handles, let it set and buff them out. That'll help them to feel a lot better. But, you know, that's comfort of using the plane. I believe that is part of setup as well. So, but get what you can, set it up properly, clean it, get the dirt off of it, get the rust off of it. Make sure those spots on the bottom of the plane are coplanar and all of that, and go to work. Bless you. I'll talk to you later.